Monday. Let's do it all over again. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin tonight with some breaking news. President Trump is set to deliver remarks at the McDonald's Impact Summit to tout his administration's effort to drive down the cost of living. We're going to bring it to you live once it goes. And the VA is restoring eligibility for education benefits for thousands of veterans who were ousted from the service for refusing Biden's COVID vaccine. Now, move following Trump's January executive order that reinstated service members who were discharged under the military's COVID vaccine mandate. Plus, Magistrate Judge William Fitzpatrick, appointed bipartisan D.C. area Democrats, judges back in 2022 saying that the case against former FBI Director James Comey might be in trouble, arguing prosecutor Lindsay Halligan made improper comments to grand jurors that could harm Comey's rights as a guarantee to all defenders in the American justice system. But Comey's case is set to go to trial in January. Man, they better have that one. The deep state protects its own, though, I guess. But first, did Trump just pull like a Uno reverse on Democrats over the Epstein files? The House just scheduling, with Trump's support, a vote for tomorrow. Let's do this. Two things. Remember how I told you this Epstein stuff was not going away back in July? This Epstein stuff not going away, and it shouldn't. Okay, you're not wasting your time here every night with us because we were right, and it's heating up, and Democrats just got played.
I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that.
Played. Trump came out this weekend and said, hey, guys, enough is enough after the Democrats all, were in a tizzy. Let's go ahead and release the rest of the files. Think about the Democrats' position right now. They did nothing under Biden, by the way, on this for 4 years, screaming that, Trump's in the Epstein files. And now they have to release it because all 214 Democrat Congress members signed on to the release to force the vote to release the Epstein files against Mike Johnson's wishes, by the way, which is weird. But Trump comes out over the weekend after months of telling people, drop it, and says, you know what, guys, let's just get him out there. And now no Democrats can hide because last week they unanimously voted for it. Meanwhile, as some more of these documents from the Oversight Committee keep rolling out, some over the weekend, show that Democrats have actually been in bed with this guy. Not seriously, but no pun intended, for years, though. And now it's coming out in a way that I bet they thought it would never happen. I bet they hoped it would never happen like this. The most recent example is the dump from the Oversight Committee, which made it appear that, one, Epstein really didn't even like Trump, probably throwing him out of his club or something like that, calling him the dog that hasn't barked or whatever they said in those documents. Now, the Democrats tweeted that out as some fake proof that, we got Trump, he was an Epstein conspirator. And then finally, when someone over at the DNC who could actually read, who saw it, was like, yo, guys, you got this all wrong. You got to take it down. And they did because it was a total misrepresentation of the reality of the situation. And two, Democrats, Epstein donated a lot of money to Democrats. He sprinkled some Republicans in there, too, like George Bush and Bob Dole. But overall, less than $20K to Republicans, but over $150K to Democrats. $20K to Hillary, $1,000 to Bill, but that was back in the 90s, so it was actually kind of a lot of money at that point. We also know that Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane at least 26 times, as well as trips to the infamous island. Like, I'm sure they weren't going down there just to have Mai Tais. We know that Epstein was involved in Hakeem Jeffries' in 2013 campaign with a fundraiser actually calling Epstein to tell him that he was the Brooklyn Barack, a progressive voice for New York for years to come? He also gave about $22,000 to Chuck Schumer over the years, who was asked today about why Biden didn't lift a finger on this.
Why wouldn't they have been released the last 4 years when President Biden was in office?
Well, that's the question every American is asking. Not every American, but so many Americans are asking. What the hell is he hiding?
We're about to find out, which leads me to the third thing that we know, which Democrats, not Trump, was hiding. That Epstein was colluding with Democrats. This is gold. Stacey Plaskett, the non-real congresswoman from the U.S. Virgin Islands, actually, via the DNC, received $30,000 from Epstein after he was already a convicted sex offender. And I think I know why. The new data dump shows that Epstein was actually texting her during a congressional hearing on questions to try to draw some association with Trump in 2019. Then, after she asked those questions, Epstein thanked her for it because she did what she was told. Good little Congresswoman. Oh, by the way, when Epstein victims tried to get that information and get her, that Congresswoman, to testify in their civil case, that Congresswoman blocked it and tried to have the victims sanctioned. That's why Democrats didn't lift a finger for the last 4 years. Why is it? This is not the headline story on every network. We know why, but here's the best part. When the Oversight Committee did release this, they redacted that Congresswoman's name. You got to protect your own on this one, right? Unbelievable. The only reason we know who it is because the Washington Post was able to do a matchup of the text and who asked those questions. I never thought I'd say this, but good job, Washington Post. Also from the White House statement today, Reid Hoffman's association with Jeffrey Epstein. He was the mega Democrat donor. Katie Couric having dinner with him after he was already a convicted sex offender. Michael Wolff, who encouraged Epstein to try to then blackmail candidate President Trump. And this leads me to number 4. And this is becoming increasingly more clear why. But Democrats didn't lift a finger to release the things for the last 4 years, probably because they knew they didn't have any dirt on Trump. Alan Dershowitz said Trump didn't do anything illicit. Ghislaine Maxwell said she never witnessed anything inappropriate. The prosecutor in Epstein's case, Edwards, said that Trump was the only one that helped their prosecution. And remember when Mike Johnson let this one slip?
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
Weird that he blocked the vote, too. But it's got to happen now. On top of that, multiple other sources have confirmed this, too, by the way. Trump's attorneys have confirmed this. Victims like Guffrey have saying that Trump never did anything inappropriate. There's no smoking gun here, just like every other time. The Democrats are like, we got Trump this time. Nope. And 5, I don't know what's up with this. I don't know if it's a strategy or if it's just really bad messaging from the White House here or whatever, because the White House has tried to release the Epstein files, and they were sealed by 3 separate judges. Ironically, all appointed by Democrats on 3 separate occasions. Check out who blocked this each time. This is actually amazing, folks. July 23rd, 2025, release blocked by Robin L. Rosenberg, the Southern District of Florida, appointed by Barack Obama in 2014. That's weird. Denied unsealing the grand jury transcripts from Epstein's 2005 to 2007 Florida federal investigation, ruling that the request fell outside judicial proceedings and violated state secrecy guidelines and declined to transfer the case back up to New York. August 11th, just a month later, 2025, blocked again by Paul A. Engelmeyer, Southern District of New York, rejecting unsealing of grand jury materials from Ghislaine Maxwell's case, stating that they contained no new information. And, they said it was a risk of unraveling secrecy without sufficient justification. That's pretty weird because another judge just released all the grand jury information to Comey's team, which you would think, since Comey is, alive and stuff, unlike Epstein, would be even more unprecedented. But whatevs. Anyway, the third time, on August 20th, 2025, Richard M. Berman, Southern District of New York, denied unsealing of grand jury transcripts and exhibits from the Epstein 2019 indictment, calling the DOJ's motion a diversion from its own and unreleasing files, emphasized threats to victim safety and privacy, even though all those names just would have been redacted. But yet, here we are, and the people who tried to get on this early, like Massey, were made out to be demons. But ain't it interesting that some of his primary efforts are being funded by somebody that was listed in Epstein's little black book? So weird. Anyway, look, this is America, folks. The one thing I thought we could all agree on is protecting our kids and getting justice when they've been harmed. I have been a proponent of getting justice and getting to the bottom of this since day one because I was a victim of sexual assault as a child myself. So let's get this vote over with, get these names and all the information out there, and then Pam Bondi, you better put those people in handcuffs. Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, sir, you're one of the people who's not been afraid to speak out about this.
Well, I've dealt with it in Tennessee. I sponsored the first ICAC legislation, Internet Crimes Against Children, where we could, agents would pose as children on the internet and catch these dirt bags. I sponsored a bill that passed that actually was the death penalty for somebody that molests a child. And it was later ruled unconstitutional. We got a new group of judges in, and they ruled it, in fact, constitutional later under another law that was fairly pretty much identical to that. So I've been dealt with this. I'm probably one of the few members that's actually, held the hand of a mother whose child was abused, and a young person who was abused as they were adult then. And it's amazing to me the amount of abuse that's gone on in this country, and it's sort of been taboo to talk about it. So, but yeah, I think we need to get it out there, get it all out there. But let's see what we got. This thing has been a Biden administration had this thing for 4 years under their Justice Department, which I don't trust as far as I can throw the dome off the dadgum Capitol.
Yep.
Trump's had it for 9 months. We're getting it out. Let's get it on. Let's see who's in there, and I agree with you. We better prosecute the guilty, or we're going to have a real problem.
Yeah, and Congressman, here's the thing. All 214 Democrats voted for this. Do you anticipate all 214 will probably vote for this again now that Trump has come out and said, yeah, guys, let's get more out there? And do you think more Republicans now, kind of seeing those floodgates open, will be able to sign on to this and it'll actually pass with an overwhelming majority?
I hope so. I don't see any reason not to vote for it unless you want to be unelected. In Tennessee, I would think it'd be a death sentence as far as your political career. But I think you ought to do it just because, dadgummit, it's the right thing to do. And we need to get this information out to the public. But this isn't going to stop child molestation or child rape. We've got to address this as a nation. Sure. We need to go after these people, and we need to quit protecting the guilty.
Yeah, but it seems like for a long time, and back in 2015, people say, oh, Trump's trying to hide it. But in 2015, he actually was saying that this was going to be a problem for a lot of people. Roll this soundbite real quick.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So,
the Clintons are friends
and he's
of
been
yours,
there
right?
for many times.
The Clintons are friends
well,
of
I
yours.
can't say friends, but I know
You're friendly. You know them.
They play at my clubs a lot. I have clubs, and everybody likes to play at my clubs.
Are you saying there's a political problem for her if she runs for president?
It could be a political problem. Look, he could be a political problem. Right now, he's Teflon, and right now, maybe not. But he could end up being a political problem.
I mean, it's a big political problem now.
Yeah, sure is. And the thing the Democrats are going to make an issue out of that Trump knew the guy. I mean, that's been documented. Look, he kicked this dirt bag out of Mar-a-Lago. I think it was 14 or 17 years ago. This is prior to any of his convictions even. And he said, the guy, he was down there trying to work over some of the young girls. And Trump banned this guy. The guy was he's a pathological dirt bag, and he's burning in hell right now. And we'll probably never get all the answers. But the Democrats are going to try to use this to hamstring Trump. We know that. I'll go back, case in point, back during the previous administration when Senator Dick Durbin was my own Senator, Marsha Blackburn, who's trying to be governor, who I hope she does, she's successful, but she asked, she tried to get a committee subpoena to bring in some of this stuff. And Durbin just acted like it didn't exist.
That's
now
crazy.
the Democrats are all just chomping at the bit that it does exist.
Yeah, sir, the last thing I want to ask, Plaskett, obviously the U.S. Virgin Islands congresswoman that's like sort of a congresswoman.
Yeah.
She was being texted and told what to say by Jeffrey. I mean, sir, in your wildest dreams, could you imagine being owned to the extent where someone's telling you what to say in the middle of a hearing?
That's Washington, D.C., dude. You run a $100 bill down the hall on a fishing line, and half of Congress will break their neck trying to get to it. We got a lot of dirt bags in this thing. I mean, we can't even outlaw illegal stock trading by members of Congress, insider trading. I make skateboards, and it's cheaper than a psychiatrist. I have insomnia. I go up my barn every night and make them. And I thought, I gave one to Tulsi Gabbard. So people call me and say, hey, Burchett, can we buy a skateboard? I say, well, let me check with ethics. So I got to go through all this rigmarole. I got to hire an attorney. I got to get a business plan. And I said, wait a minute. I can do insider stock trading if I'm a member of Congress, but I can't sell a dadgum skateboard. And the guy's like, yeah, pretty much, that's it. You know, this place, look, if your congressman or woman comes to you and says, I love Washington, D.C., brother, you better get a dadgum another congressman because they're into it too deep. This town is a freaking cesspool, and we better clean it up, or God will no longer shine on this country, and we're going to lose everything.
It's like everything in the government is the DMV. It's unbelievable. Congressman Tim Burchett, pleasure as always, sir.
Hey, and God bless you, brother, for talking about your past. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, coming up, as New York City prepares for a socialist mayor, one Oscar-winning actor is actually sounding the alarm about what's to come. We're going to have details for you on that later in the show. But first, with military presence ramped up in the Caribbean, how will President Trump move forward with Venezuela? Those details next.
The 47th President of the United States of America.
And, you know, I wouldn't say Fox has been exactly perfect. Fox has been a big difference of Fox between now and what it was 4 years ago, as you know. But we have others that come along, and they're doing well, and Newsmax has been really good, and, you know, others are coming along. And people are seeing that they're watching these conservative networks.
President Trump is right. That's why millions of Americans are tuning into Newsmax for the real news they can trust.
We are Create. We designed the gold standard creatine monohydrate gummy, which can support daily energy levels, boost mental clarity, and build and retain muscle. Learn more at trycreate.co.
There's nothing worse than losing your dog before their time.
That's why I created Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, designed to help dogs with everything from digestive issues to itching, even moving better.
Nature's Blend works because it's freeze-dried. So instead of destroying the nutrients with high heat, they all get right into your dog's body.
Take it from a veterinarian with over 50 years of experience saving dogs' lives. I have never seen a food make this much impact on a dog's health.
For a limited time, get up to 54% off Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, plus a free gift with our special TV offer. Call or go to drmartypets.com/TV.
Make this Christmas the year you go all in on joy. At Balsam Hill, Black Friday is finally here. Celebrate with one of our beautifully crafted lifelike trees and save up to 50% off. Start making memories at balsamhill.com.
Talking to people today about their retirement accounts. Sir, excuse me.
Yeah.
Do you have a retirement account?
Yeah, I've got a TSP from my old government job.
How's that doing?
I'm forgetting about it. I can't contribute to it. There are fees to get the funds, and the investment options are limited, so the money's just stuck.
How about a gold IRA?
I can do that?
Absolutely. You can roll it into a gold IRA, and you have all the same tax advantages as a TSP, but with more flexibility. And you can put physical gold and silver in your retirement account.
I'm taking control with Noble Gold Investments.
Your retirement, your rules. Noble Gold.
Because it's you, it's an honor.
All right, let's go to President Trump, who's speaking on affordability right now. Listen in.
McDonald's has done is incredible, and that you're doing. But as you may have heard, I'm also one of your all-time most loyal customers. I really am. Well, others, I think that's good. I'm pretty sure that's good. While other politicians fly around on campaign planes stocked with expensive catering, on Trump Force One, prior to ascending to Air Force One, which is quite a nice plane also, we served only McDonald's almost every time. On occasion, we couldn't find one, which is pretty hard to believe. We'd go another route, but we really did. You fed us very well, and I even got Bobby Kennedy to eat a Big Mac. And he told me he loved it. He didn't want that publicized. He told me he loved it. I thought it was great. I want to thank McDonald's chairman and CEO, Chris Kempczinski, who I just met backstage. I guess gave him a little piece of my speech signed. I said, do you want to keep this? You can either hang it, you can give it to somebody, you can throw it away. I don't care. But I don't stay on the speech too long anyway, so usually those speeches aren't too accurate, what I give. But McDonald's USA president is here, Joe Erlinger. Joe, wherever you may be, thank you very much. Thank you, Joe. Good job, along with everyone from the International Franchise Association, which does really fantastic work. I've heard from many people you do a fantastic job. So thanks as well to two former McDonald's operators now serving in Congress, Representative Kevin Hern and Chuck Edwards. Are you here, fellas? Come on, fellas. And they're warriors, those two. They're warriors. Thank you very much. Great job. And of course, let me thank the people who truly keep the McDonald's magic alive, the incredible franchisees, and you got a lot of them here today. Yeah, and you're the heart and soul, and they would tell you that all the time. They tell me that. You carry on the commitment to what Ray Kroc said he wanted from every McDonald's restaurant, perfection. Have you heard that? Perfection. That was very strong. Ray liked to say that if you think small, you'll stay small, and that's why no one thinks bigger than McDonald's, not in your industry, and probably never will. I don't know if anybody can ever catch you. I doubt it. Every single day you feed an incredible 1% of the entire world population, 70 million meals every day. An amazing 1 in 8 Americans works behind the counter of a McDonald's franchise at some point in their lives. Yeah, we heard about that. I heard about that. Wasn't true in that particular case, but for tens of millions of our citizens, the road to the American dream starts beneath the golden arches, beautiful golden arches. So to each and every one of you, thank you and congratulations on 70 years of American greatness. Congratulations. And, you know, I just might add, this is also the golden age of America because we are doing better than we've ever done as a country. Prices are coming down and all of that stuff. And, you know, they talk about different terms for that. But I will tell you that nobody has done what we've done in terms of pricing. We took over a mess. We had the highest, think of it, the highest inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years it was the history of our country. And now we have normal inflation. We're going to get it a little bit lower, frankly. But we have normal. We've normalized it. We have it down to a low level, but we're going to get it a little bit lower. We want perfection. You know, you always want 1%. I don't know if anybody knows. You don't want 0. 0 can be bad. Then you start going the other route. That's no good either. Then you say, what's worse, deflation or inflation? But we have it almost at the sweet spot, and prices are coming down on different things. One of your groups that you admire, I admire, Walmart, came up last week, and they announced that Thanksgiving this year is 25% less. All of the accoutrements, that Thanksgiving is 25% less than it was last year under Sleepy Joe Biden. So that's a big statement, and others have followed up by saying just about that. And to your leader, who when we met, I said, how are you doing with prices? Prices are coming down. He said, we were up 40% because of Biden and inflation, and they're coming down, and they're coming down rapidly. So I hope that all continues to go, but we're really doing well as a country. Most importantly, however, I will tell big picture, we have over $17 trillion being invested in our country in 9 months. It's now just about ready to crack 18. And by the end of 1 year, we will have about $20 to $21 trillion invested in our country. That's more by 10 times the highest amount ever invested in any country ever before. And it's largely because of tariffs and, I think, November 5th election. But it's the largest amount. As an example, so if we have 20 or 21 in 1 year, 21 trillion, think of what that is. That's car factories, that's AI, it's everything. They're all coming back because of the tariffs. They're all coming back because they don't want to pay 15, 20, 30, 100% tariff. It wasn't that complicated. People are saying, you know, Trump was right. It really wasn't that complicated, but it's been amazing. As an example, if you take me at 20 for 1 year, Sleepy Joe Biden, you know what he was? Less than 1 for 4 years. And if they got elected, they would have been at minus 10 because people were moving out of the country in record numbers, and welfare and other charges were increasing at levels that nobody has ever seen before. So you would have had double and maybe 50%, maybe literally more than they've ever seen. Welfare was going up. Everything was going up. Government jobs were going up. Real jobs were going down. So you would have had that catastrophe, and on top of it, instead of 20 trillion coming in, you would have had 10 trillion leaving our country. In other words, you would have had a catastrophe. You probably would have had a bankrupt country. You are so damn lucky that I won that election. I'm telling you.
We're going to keep following him if he says anything remarkable on this. It's actually quite interesting. All right, folks, I want to go to this. The USS Gerald R. Ford, a aircraft carrier and other warships, have arrived in the Caribbean to build up military presence near Venezuela, as President Trump was briefed and might be having some discussions with President Maduro. This is what he said today.
Is there anything you're ready to rule out at this point? Are you ruling out U.S. troops on the ground?
No, I don't rule out that. I don't rule out anything. I'm not in love with the people running Venezuela. I love Venezuela. I love the people of Venezuela. But what they've done to this country, and I really say this, what Biden and the Democrats have done to this country can never, ever be forgotten.
But Venezuela wasn't always like this. They weren't, in an enemy posture. They used to have like a real government, not run by criminal drug cartel. 75 years ago, Venezuela was richer than China. They had the 4th largest economy in the world. They had good health care system. It was actually an incredibly strong country until socialism and was implemented by Hugo Chavez. He was elected in 1998. Now they're one of the poorest countries with low wages, high inflation, and people are fleeing left and right. And this is not the blueprint you want for your country. This is why even Bill Maher recognized why people like me are so nervous about people like Mamdani being in charge. Brent Sadler, former Pentagon official, and Christian Whiton, former senior advisor in the Trump and Bush administration. Brent, I mean, look, Venezuela has like more natural resources than almost anybody in the world, and yet they're a dump now dealing drugs to the world.
No, absolutely. Highly predictable. When they went down the experiment, which is well recorded as failures of socialism and communism. So I think it's inevitable that they'll return to a more logical, common sense approach. Can't happen soon enough, quite frankly, because the disaster that's Venezuela today has been using drug money to keep itself afloat, and they're using it on the lives of American citizens.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely crazy to me. I want to get to something else here, Christian. Remember when we were all worried that like money going to Ukraine might have been kind of intercepted and maybe going to fraud, and people were like, no, we got to stand with Ukraine at all costs. Well, turns out members of Zelensky's inner circle have been named in a money laundering probe where one associate has been accused of living in a, quote, golden toilet luxury. An actual golden toilet was found in his associate's home. Dude, Ukrainians have been shocked at these details, but like, remember when we as Americans were paying out of our tax dollars to fund their pension system?
That's right. And those of us who said, well, Ukraine certainly is less repressive and less corrupt than Russia, nonetheless is corrupt and repressive. And maybe this isn't quite the same as England versus Germany in 1939. Right. Maybe there's a little nuance. And those of us who said that were accused of using Putin's talking points. But what we said was accurate. And I think it's important when we, decide where to put our resources and emphasis, whether we should focus on Ukraine or, for example, China and the Americas, where the president wants to focus. It ought to come into the equation.
Yeah, no, but the other thing too, Brent, and as this whole thing is developed, I'm like, wow, gee, told you so. There are all these things. It's in their energy department. Who was involved with their energy department? Oh, that's right, Hunter Biden working for Burisma.
Absolutely. There's a reason Ukraine was noted as the worst and the most corrupt in Europe for many years, still to this day. Mm-hmm. So giving them bundles of cash was never a good idea. Giving them ammunition and guns was the right thing to do all along to fight the Russians. But, this gravy train's come to an end under President Trump, thankfully. But, the focus in on war fighting and putting Putin in his box, still a task to be done. It's that peace deal that Trump has yet not been able to secure. Hopefully he can get it in the near future.
Last 20 seconds to you, Christian.
Well, I think it's clear who Trump has to lean on. We've been leaning on the Russians. Maybe we should lean on the corrupt guys with the gold-plated toilet seats and the mansions in the nicest part of Ukraine. I mean,
and Wyoming,
we
by
really
the way.
Don't have a compelling national interest here. And so, I don't know. Maybe we should just cash and carry and go neutral.
Yeah, and why is Zelensky buying mansions all over the U.S.? I don't know. Whatever. Christian, Brent, pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if it isn't some more old tweets getting Democrats in trouble. According to new reports, Hassan Chaudhry, the self-identified newly appointed political director for Mamdani's transition team, apparently has a very anti-Semitic and homophobic past on Twitter. Weird. Resurfaced tweets from 2012 showing him calling Israel a bloody country and a barbaric nation. And in December of 2024, he also retweeted a post aimed at the pro-Israel Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, stating if Luigi Mangione had shot a Gazan toddler instead, Josh Shapiro would have given him a medal. He also questioned LGBTQ rights, posting, I too read a piece on gay rights. To be honest, it is purely claptrap, doesn't make any sense. Boundary lines should be drawn somewhere. This is not in the left's narrative, but of course, as soon as these started to swirl, I apologize. Well, too bad. I mean, Republicans apologize for something even less than that. We just get cast out forever. All right, he's saying, they don't reflect my views and who I am today, blah, blah, blah. They actually still do represent your current views and who you are today. So, Ashley Brasfield, reporter at the Daily Caller, and Jarrett Stepman, columnist at the Daily Signal. Look, Jarrett, these people never change.
No, they don't change. And I think we're going to see this pattern emerge during Mamdani's tenure. It's going to be like they just unleashed Arkham Asylum into the mayor's mansion. That's what it's going to be like. I know that there are people who said, well, maybe he'll try to moderate a little bit when he comes into power. But I think you're going to see a lot of his staffers are going to be some very fringy characters, to say the least. And even though he tried to clean up his act in the general election, we're going to see these people for what they really are. He's going to staff his administration with DSA members, Working Families Party, a lot of socialists, a lot of radical Islamists who he was pals with. So this doesn't surprise me. What will surprise me if there isn't more people like this who come into his administration.
Yeah, administration full of nut jobs. It's going to be like Gotham City by the time he's over it. All right, another Democrat exposed over the weekend, actually. California Congressman Brad Sherman caught, apparently, according to this, and we had to blur it out, watching pornographic material on like this giant iPad next to other people on the plane. He's responded. He's blaming Elon's Twitter algorithm for the provocative content coming across his feed. But like, that stuff doesn't pop up unless you're probably looking at it 5 minutes before.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, can you really keep blaming Elon for, multiple photos? That was what was published, multiple photos of this guy on a plane with children looking at these photos. And you can't get around this. But also, this is kind of on par for a lot of members of Congress. A lot of people have talked about this before, kind of this just kind of interesting characters that get into office there, specifically Democrats, that have these sexual fantasies. Remember that time where a Senate staffer was found in a chamber having...
We still don't know who the other dude was in that, by the way.
It's so disturbing, but that's kind of the trend here, what happens in Congress. I've talked about my mug, which I still don't have with me, but, the mug works harder in Congress. But this is a great example because they're looking at stuff like this. It's disgusting.
Yeah, no, and on a plane with children all the way around.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. All right, my favorite account, Occupy Democrats, posted this absolutely BS fake news story saying, quote, "This is how the White House treats the flag of the United States of America. They just let it lie on the ground." I'm sure the U.S. military members who follow this page could share the rules of the handling of the flag. Once again, Trump is a travesty against our great nation. And I'm like, Jarrett, hold up. First of all, the picture he used was taken at the Washington Monument a day before that was torn down in high winds, okay? That was 3 days ago. But a flag did come down at the White House, but not out of disrespect at all, and it was quickly fixed. But D.C., here's the headline, had 50-mile-an-hour gusts over the weekend, and when you put a 100-foot flag up in the air, it's like a sail.
That's exactly right. This story sort of became almost like that, the Trump is demolishing the White House story. Like, well, actually, they're making renovations to the East Wing, but it's like, well, they're actually bulldozing the whole thing. How is that believable at all to the public? Is this really something that people think that President Trump obviously shows that he loves the American flag and the country of the United States, his administration very much so, is just going to tatter up a flag and throw it on the ground? It just doesn't pass the smell test. And look, anybody who's been on the East Coast last few days knows it's been very, very windy. So it doesn't surprise me this Occupy Democrats account has been very dishonest in the past. I'm not surprised to see this again.
I want to get to this, actually. This is insane. A Michigan superintendent, okay, for, schools, doesn't know how many genders there are. Listen to this.
How many genders are there? How many genders are there?
Different people have different beliefs on that.
Ashley?
Yeah, her name's Sue. Sue, answer the question. He's asking you straight up. I think everybody can answer that question at this point. And you see that smirk on her face during that video, and you can tell she can't answer it because she will get clobbered by her own party if she does directly. So, you know, this is one of those instances. It feels like the Ketanji Brown Jackson moment when she was asked in her hearing, you know, what is a woman? Same instance that just happened right then. And it's a repetitive thing that we continue to see from Democrats, especially on the gender issue, which is just not a winning issue, and they continue to do so.
How do these people get hired? It's unbelievable. Ashley, Jarrett, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, I thought we separated church and state. You know, the Danbury Baptist letters from Thomas Jefferson. The Catholic Bishops' Conference just issued a special message to the U.S. on immigration and deportation, says the people whose leader is hidden behind a giant wall. We got that next.
Healthy aging support starts here with the innovative nitric oxide science pioneered by Human, supporting your body from the heart out through circulation, blood flow, blood pressure, and energy. Results you can feel, science you can trust. Get started today at livehuman.com.
There are only a few men I'd trust with my life. Two of them built this wallet. I've known the guys behind Proof for nearly 20 years, and we've been through hell and back together. When they told me they were building the wallet, I just said, bill me now, I'm in. This isn't some fashion piece. This isn't just some trend. These wallets are a direct reflection of the kind of men who built it. It's built to last, built to function, and designed to carry everything you need and more. If anything happens to it, they'll take care of it. No questions, no fine print. If you knew the guys who created this wallet, you wouldn't carry anything else. Go check them out, because they built this thing right.
Create a daily workout. Whatever workout means for you. We are Create, the creatine gummy made from Creapure, the gold standard of creatine monohydrate. Learn more about Create at trycreate.co.
Larry was in a really bad accident and broke his neck. In the line of duty. I get a phone call early one morning from the Tunnel Towers Foundation. Said, we're going to provide you and your family with a smart home. At that time, I just almost passed out. I just couldn't believe it. They heard his story, which means someone's out there listening.
By giving $11 a month, you're joining us on our mission to do good. Go to T2T.org now.
It's just like our new house. I hope you have an American Home Shield warranty. Leaky toilet? Fixed. Oven beyond repair? If AHS can't fix your covered item, then replace it, no matter its age. Sign up today at AHS.com.
How is my mother gonna... Oh, no. Is this the episode with the breakup?
Rebo, we can't agree on the house.
Y'all need Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you could find the one today. This could be it. Better put a key ring on it. Realtor.com.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
Thanks to Jointivia, I'm back in the swing of things. Wait, $70 for a refill?
You gotta try Single Care. Just look up your prescription, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and save.
See why more people are saving with Single Care.
We are disturbed when we see among our people a climate of fear and anxiety around questions of profiling and immigration enforcement.
We are saddened by the state of contemporary debate and the vilification of immigrants. We are concerned about the conditions in detention centers.
For this very reason, we feel compelled now in this environment to raise our voices in defense of God-given human dignity.
U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops issuing a special message to our country on immigration. First of all, stay in your lane, guys. This is why we separated the church and the state. After all, the church loves not paying taxes. Second, isn't the Vatican literally protected by walls? Oh, yes, it is. It has walls all the way around it. Big ones at that. You want our country to be open up to everyone? I'd tell you what, lead by example. You tear down your walls. I mean, why not? Matter of fact, how many immigrants are you offering to house in your churches or even your own home? A few have done it, but not in the rectory. Brianna Lyman, election correspondent at The Federalist, and David Medina, founder of Project Libertas. Brianna?
You know, Carl, first and foremost, they're not actually upset or concerned with immigration. They're upset about the fact that President Trump's administration took away all their funding that they got under Biden. Second of all, it's a little disingenuous for these Catholic bishops to come out and talk about humanity. They say nothing when abortion is running rampant in this country, but they're so-called devout Catholics, aren't they? They said nothing when devout Catholic Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi were over here encouraging abortions and Planned Parenthood, but they speak up as soon as their funding gets threatened.
Oh, that's actually an excellent point. All right, David, this kind of is weird, but a California official, they've lost it, okay? I give you the San Diego lid lifters.
I'm weird. I'm excited. I think it's cool to dig through trash, but I get it. I'm not the normal person. There is a life after waste, and we want to make sure that these are sorted correctly, because not only one does it impact our staff and our structural, our trucks, but also it impacts what goes into our landfill.
They hired people to go around policing people's trash cans and recycling. But don't worry, they can't fine you or they can't give you a penalty. They just report you. Most they can do, it's an educational warning by leaving a little pamphlet on your bin that I would also throw right in the trash. But we don't even, this is crazy.
It is. I mean, you made great points. California has some of the highest taxes in every category. In some categories, they rank #1 in taxes, Carl. And also, San Diego has the 6th largest homeless population in the nation among major U.S. cities. So it's really awesome to see their priorities are straight, just like in cities where I live right here in Portland. These guys, these Democrats that run this, their priorities are backwards. They don't care about the average person, and they're going to continue to pile on the taxes on us while not solving any problems that are going on in their cities.
But Brianna, also, this is my problem with the recycling scam. First of all, climateintegrity.org claims that big oil and the plastics industry has deceptively promoted recycling as a solution to plastic waste. Forget about glass and things like that. Look, it's not. Only about 25% of items that you send to the recycling bin actually get recycled.
Yeah, because China used to buy up all of our recycling, and over the past few years, they've cut that down. And two, a government that's big enough to check your trash cans is a government that's too big. And if they're focused or they want to be focused on climate change.
Look at that. All the same bin. That worker.
That's what happens. They throw it out all together. This is not about climate change. If it was about climate change, they'd be focused on the fact that China and India account for some of the world's biggest global emissions. That's where the culprit really is. So no matter what you do here, it is immediately cut out by what China and India does. So this is just pandering and posturing.
Yeah, no, it's wild. All right, another scam real quick. I got a couple seconds here. Apparently, it's like this H-1B scam and everything like this. These people, the last class that just graduated was 100% Indians from Lindsey Wilson College, paying $2,600 per semester, but they all work here on these no-cap lottery visas.
Absolutely, and it just shows you the scam and how we need major reform with our immigration system, Carl. It's broken. It's been broken for a long time. I don't think the answer to this is to increase the H-1B visa program. I don't think the answer is to bring in 600,000 Chinese students. As much as I love President Trump, I don't think those are the answers. We need clear answers that are good, that are going to put our American students and people first, and that's not what we're seeing now.
It's just bizarre to me. Well, anyway, Brianna, David, we appreciate it. All right, coming up, as Democrat socialist Zoran Mamdani prepares to be sworn in as New York City's next mayor, one Hollywood heavyweight issuing a stark warning for New Yorkers. Better listen next.
Derriere, caboose, booty, badunkadunk. No matter what you call it, if you have hemorrhoids, your tushy is no laughing matter. So don't use a cream that treats your rear end like a joke. Get serious relief with Recticare Advanced Hemorrhoidal Cream. Recticare Advanced is seriously effective with 2 powerful medicines for rapid dual-action relief, soothing the uncomfortable swelling, itching, and pain of your hemorrhoids. For serious hemorrhoid relief for your buns, get Recticare Advanced.
I'm a martial artist, a skydiver, a pilot, and all of them require your feet to work. Get up in the morning and it felt like I was standing on marbles on my heel. When I went into the Good Feet store, the fitting was personalized. It was all about me. You put in the arch supports and your day becomes better and the sun shines, the unicorns run by, and it's a good life. I'm Randy and that's my Good Feet story.
See for yourself with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
If you have wet AMD or DME, you never want to lose sight of the things you love. And your condition doesn't have to steal the moment. Long-lasting EYLEA HD delivers powerful vision improvements that can save your vision for the future. EYLEA HD is the only treatment for wet AMD and DME that helped at least 8 out of 10 people go up to 4 months between injections after 3 initial monthly treatments. Don't take EYLEA HD if you have an eye infection, eye pain, redness, or are allergic to it. Eye injections like EYLEA HD may cause eye infection, separation of the retina, rare but severe swelling of blood vessels in the eye, or increased eye pressure. There is an uncommon risk of heart attack or stroke. There's still so much to see. Ask about next generation EYLEA HD, a treatment retina specialists trust.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Here's something you don't see very often. Elle's not working, and why not? I gave him the day off, thanks to WeatherTech. With so many gifts for everyone, they don't have to work as hard. There's laser-measured floor liners and cargo liner, plus the child car seat protector and cup phone to secure any phone while driving. Or get a gift card instantly at WT.com. I call winner.
All right, as New York prepares to grapple with a new socialist mayor, President Trump's special ambassadors to Hollywood, John Voight, issuing a pretty stark warning.
The mayor that has taken over New York City is a Muslim that's going to take down the city that never sleeps, the city of life's dreams, this city that our ancestors brought forth in prosperity and greatness and liberty. This city will turn into a forbidden place of darkness. The blood, sweat, and tears that the city of New York was built on will turn into a virtual refugee shelter for the radical Muslim ideology. This is now the most dangerous time for our citizens of New York. This mayor will destroy this city. We are obligated to demand our rights for our private sanctuary, our businesses, our property that we all have worked so hard for. And this 35-year-old mayor has no right dictating the rules of socialism for a city built on our highest principles with brick and stone by hardworking Americans. This must be stopped, and his mayoralty should be terminated immediately. You, the people of the greatest city, New York, are in danger of losing your city to this communist fool. We, the people, must stand for the greatest nation's purpose, the honor of our flag, the red, white, and blue, and for which it stands, one nation under God, and liberty and justice for all. This country, the United States of America, is the land of our greatest achievement, the American dream. And we, the people, have put our trust in the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. He and only he can stop this horror, as this Mayor Mamdani will try to destroy New York's wealth and turn it into a socialist crap city. Let this be a warning to the people, and may God bless.
I feel him. Michael Savage, host of the Savage Nation. Sir, what'd you take about all this?
Well, I love John. He's a friend of mine. I was in a movie, small scene, a few months ago called The Last Firefighter. He's a friend of mine. He's a devout Christian. He's an all-around kind man, a wonderful man, reads the Bible all the time. And he's really agitated over this. I mean, I put it in a more succinct, savage way a number of years ago, where I could repeat it now. It's pretty clear. Mamdani will take us from a city that was the melting pot and turn it into the chamber pot. That's the way it is, John and I, outside the trailer. I had my 1-minute scene, and they gave me a trailer. But look, we all know Mamdani can't be stopped by decree. I mean, John's, instincts are correct. But you can't remove him from office just because you don't like him.
Right.
He's going to have to be thrown out after he destroys enough of the city for the people to say, wait a minute, I didn't even vote. Only 1 million of us voted in a city of 9 million. And the guy snuck through the back door, and now he's going to turn the city upside down. Yeah, but how do you stop it? You can't just suddenly say, we don't like him, Trump should remove him.
Well, no, you just let it crash.
Well, that's the horrible truth. My father came here as an immigrant. My grandfather came here as an immigrant, and my father came as an immigrant. So my ancestors are buried in that beautiful city, and you can take it to the bank that this man cannot manage a city of that size. He's never held a job.
He didn't even show up to the one he had.
Huh?
He didn't even show up to when he was elected as a assemblyman.
Well, it just shows you how well he did by failing upwards. Isn't that great? But he's full of hate. The thing is, if he was just a Muslim of the type that I grew up with, and I knew some. I used to joke with a Muslim friend who owned a restaurant in San Francisco. His name was Mo. Nicest guy from Iran. And I used to say, when Jews fast, Muslims starve. He loved it. He thought it was a joke. Those were the days that you could just joke with people from other religions, and they shrugged it off. That was in New York.
Yeah.
It's a joke, by the way.
I know.
Nobody gets the joke.
Everyone's offended by everything now. So,
I know.
But Mamdani's going to meet with Trump, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, how's this meeting going to go?
Oh, you think it'll be another Zelensky kind of meeting, the first one, where he threw him out of the office and didn't even give him a dinner?
Maybe. I mean,
well, okay, I see.
Will he wear a suit?
Mamdani will wear a suit. He's not going to wear a dirty nightshirt. He'll definitely show up in a suit. He's not going to wear the garb, the Middle Eastern garb. I don't think he's going to wear an outfit from Uganda.
No. It's crazy, though, that we're sitting here debating this, and it's like these two are going to get together. Can anything get accomplished from this?
Trump. But the question is this. Look, let's be real about this. Mamdani is the first CARE candidate to have ever achieved a national political office. People don't know how stealthy and dangerous CARE is. Council on American Islamic Relations. Mm-hmm. They've always been in the background. They sue anyone who says one word that's out of line. I was in a lawsuit with them in 2007. Trust me, I know the inside of the courtroom with them. So they funded him, amongst other people. Yeah. They finally have, sorry to say it, the nose of the camel through the door of the tent, so to speak. Right. And this will be a great experiment as to how a radical Muslim manages a city. This is not a middle-of-the-road Muslim.
Michael, the crazy thing is, CARE was declared a terrorist organization by 3 countries. I got to leave it right there. Michael Savage, my pleasure, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All right, be sure to check out Savage Nation right here on Newsmax, 8 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. Before we go, Trump's making huge moves with lower prices on groceries. I'm going to tell you which one I'm excited about next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
You okay in there? Consumer Cellular knows there are a lot of offers flying around, but they slip away too fast. We don't play games. What you see is what you get. No hot air, just plans starting at $20. Bet you're glad you wore cargo pants. Because cargo pants have all those pockets. You can see how we can cut your bill. Plans start at just $20. Call Consumer Cellular.
Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about YRefi. Did you know that as an accredited investor, when you invest in YRefi, your interest rate is fixed? And did you know that you can invest from 1 to 5 years and you can spread your investment over those terms to best suit your needs? And you have the freedom to take your monthly interest income or reinvest it, whatever you choose. When you invest in YRefi, your interest is calculated daily, you're paid monthly, and should you need your money back early, there is a liquidity feature. Would you like more information? All you have to do It's called 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investwhyrefi.com. That's investwhyrefi.com for complete details. And make sure you review the private placement memorandum and scan this QR code to view the disclosure at your leisure. YRefi, investing in America's future.
There are only a few men I'd trust with my life. Two of them built this wallet. I've known the guys behind Proof for nearly 20 years, and we've been through hell and back together. When they told me they were building the wallet, I just said, build me now, I'm in. This isn't some fashion piece. This isn't just some trend. These wallets are a direct reflection of the kind of men who built it. It's built to last, built to function, and designed to carry everything you need and more. If anything happens to it, they'll take care of it. No questions, no fine print. If you knew the guys who created this wallet, you wouldn't carry anything else. Go check them out, because they built this thing right.
Investing in a gold IRA with Noble Gold Investments was definitely one of our smartest financial decisions.
And it's not just numbers on a screen. It's real physical gold.
And it's something we can pass on to the kids.
Investing in gold is smart, and choosing the right company is easy. No one compares to Noble Gold Investments.
Their no-pressure approach and ongoing U.S.-based support make investing enjoyable.
There's a reason they're the #1 gold IRA company 4 years running, and have completed over $2 billion in transactions.
Noble Gold Investments puts your best interest first.
It's all about honesty, transparency, and real value. Call Noble Gold Investments today and experience it for yourself.
If you're new to gold investing or want a partner you can trust, call Noble Gold.
Call 877-646-5347 now, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com to secure your future with a partner you can trust.
Can your roof handle another winter? Cold weather makes your roof dry, brittle, and crack. If you're just hoping your roof survives, that's risky. Let us inspect it for free, giving you peace of mind before winter hits. And if your roof needs some help, we'll try to restore it, not replace it, saving you thousands. Not every roof qualifies, but most do. Call now and you'll get a free roof tune-up with your Roofmax treatment.
Ayo, got beef? Maybe it's about to become less expensive, actually.
From an economic standpoint, our prices are coming down very substantially on groceries and things. They're already at a much lower level than they were with the last administration. And we worked on it this weekend, and you're going to see some of the items that were a little bit higher. They were lower than the last administration, but a little bit higher. We're going to have some little price reductions, and in some cases, some pretty good ones.
Trump announcing he's going to be lifting tariffs on 200-plus food products amid trade deals, items like fruits, coffee, and, of course, my ultimate favorite, beef, which everybody needs in their diet. And I just wanted to remind everyone that the prices are only high in the first place because of what Biden did in his last administration, you know, all the accomplishments during his term. If you want someone to blame him because prices rose, I don't know, like 25% during his term of 2020 to 2024. Look, Trump's doing everything he can to fix the mess that Biden created. Don't even get me started on the fact that Biden executed like 100 million chickens for like one guy having a bird flu. But you know what, Rob? You know what sucks for you is you have to do a whole nother hour, and I'm actually going to go downstairs and get a steak right now.
I thought you were a vegan.
Yeah, that's it.
I thought
I'm leaving.
He's going to go get a spinach shake.
All right, Rob.
Enjoy the steak. I'm going to have one tonight, too, just in honor of you. Going to go get one after the show. Good to see you, Carl.
Swole's the goal.
Swole's the goal.